You're listening to the world-famous White Roof Radio, Woofcast number 609, recorded October 25th, 2016. It's brought to you by CravenSpeed.com, MotoringStripes.com, and NowMotoring.com. Mini performance, speed, and style. It's OutMotoring.com.
All right, let's get into the show so we can start talking about this.
Hey, everybody, it's DV in Arizona coming at you with a brand new episode of the world-famous White Roof Radio. We are here talking about the Mini Cooper Countryman, the 2016 Mini Cooper Countryman, introduced yesterday. 2017, excuse me. It's a brand new Countryman. We got all the details. We got pictures. We're going to talk only about that for like the next, I don't know, half hour or so. Todd's with us tonight. Todd, say hi.
Hello.
Alex has joined us as well.
Hi, everybody.
And we were really close to getting Gabe, but the Cubs are in the World Series, and so he was probably already drunk.
It's 1985.
Yeah, Gabe, Gabe's lived his entire life and not seen the Cubs in the World Series.
I watched. I did watch Game 6, and they did that double play, and I was just like, I was shocked. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. It took like a full 2 or 3 seconds for it to set in that the Cubs actually won a pennant.
It was very exciting.
It was very exciting. And then I was just like, oh, wow, this is pretty amazing. And as everybody's saying, it's Back to the Future. It's coming true.
Well, and if that's not exciting enough, then we get the new Countryman finally drops today online.
I know.
Which we've been waiting forever. Gabe told us back in, I want to say June. He's like, I'm going to have it by the end of the month. It's going to be on Motoring File.
Oh, yeah.
And then like, no, it's going to be July. And then by the end of July, it's going to be on Motoring File. And then it never happened. And it's not his fault.
No.
They kept pushing this back, and he even wrote in one of the articles today over on Motoring File, like that was kind of teasing that this is coming out. Like we'd seen this information, and it was posting up at like 6 p.m. Eastern time. Mm-hmm. And he did say this has really been pushed back because many had an agreement with Magna Steyr in Austria that built the current Countryman and the Paceman, that they had a certain number of cars they were going to build. And they kind of negotiated that down and basically are having to produce the existing Countryman until the end of the year, and the Paceman also to a lesser extent.
Right.
And so they didn't want to really hurt those sales by bringing this new Countryman out and saying, oh, look what you can get, but you have to wait 6 months.
Right.
And then nobody's going to want to buy the existing one, and they're going to start giving them away with French toast at Denny's.
Which they already started doing anyway.
They really already are now. Like a lot of dealers, I've seen $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 off on the existing Countryman. So anyway, the whole point being is they push this back, and finally it's about, here we are approaching the 1st of November, and it's going to show live at the LA Auto Show on the 16th of November. Mm-hmm. So people are going to get to see this car, get in it, touch it, feel it, get more than just the press pictures. Mm-hmm. Like DB, you and I were saying before the show that how they take very interesting angle pictures of this car to make it look the best. Of course they do.
Yeah, and they did that in the video, all the pictures in the galleries. We're going to cover that here in just a second. We're going to talk all about the Countryman. We have everything except for pricing so far, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
yep.
Everything except for pricing and our thoughts on the whole matter. We're going to get to that here in just a second. Let's start off first with our friends over at Outmotoring. Outmotoring.com. I want to remind you guys about them really quick. Couple things I want to point out to you. We're still doing free ground shipping on most orders over $195 from Outmotoring.com. Super awesome. Save 5% on your order when you sign up for the email newsletter, and you get your own special code, which is super awesome. Every month, 3,000 new products. Now offering Aston Martin products. We kind of goofed about that a couple weeks ago, but for reals, if you have a need for Aston Martin big brake kit, Motoring.com is your place to go. Not only that, but a couple things I want to bring to your attention. A full line of car care products. You guys already know about that as well. But everything to get your Mini ready for winter. Get it nice and clean, shiny, waxed up so that all the salt and stuff stays at bay as best as possible. Aaron's also selling the really cool wheel edge protector to prevent curb rash for those of you who have to parallel park a lot. And sometimes, not everybody's perfect. And that's actually pretty cheap. It's like half price right now, $30. Super awesome. N14 engine oil cap with really cool designs, carbon fiber or maybe Union Jack. Awesome. Countryman headlight rings. Awesome. Not only that, but all the different body parts. I told you Outmotoring can be your parts desk, right? If you need it for your Mini because you're just doing regular repairs, Outmotoring.com is going to be the place you're going to want to start almost every time. Pricing's the same as your parts desk at your dealer too. Sometimes it's even better. Shh. Also, silicone tubing. And finally, let's finish off. Let's look at that front splitter for the second gen Mini. Very nice stuff. All available for you over at Outmotoring. Outmotoring.com. Go over there, check them out. Like I said, don't forget to sign up for the email newsletter. And when you make an order, make sure you mention White Roof Radio. We really appreciate that. So do they. They, of course, being our friends, longtime friends at Outmotoring.com. Mini performance, speed, and, well, yeah, N14 engine oil cap. That's Outmotoring.com.
There it is.
Boom. Let's get into the Countryman, gentlemen.
Yes.
So
exciting.
Let's start. Okay, let's start with what we know about the Countryman. So the Countryman is going to be available in all of the different variants. So it's going to be a Cooper S, Cooper S all four. Oh, wait, all four on all of them, right?
Yeah, Cooper
Yes.
and a Cooper S, just like the Clubman is now.
Yeah, just like the Clubman is now. Plus, how about Cooper S e-hybrid?
Yes. Plug-in hybrid.
Plug-in hybrid and a Mini Cooper. Like, for real, this is an actual car you are going to be able to buy in the United States.
It's interesting because it's a Cooper S with a 3-cylinder engine.
Exactly. And you know what else is? We're going to get into specs a little bit, but this is also the fastest of the Countryman.
Yes.
Which is crazy. So that's all the things. Now, something you need to know is every one of these Countrymen, every one of them, comes with a sunroof, which I can't say I'm a huge fan of. You get leatherette upholstery. You get comfort access. That comes with. That's pretty strong. Mini connected with the 6.5-inch screen. You get backup camera, PDC, Bluetooth that supports all the things.
Automatic streaming, yeah.
Yep. Automatic headlight and rain sensing windshield wipers. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the rain sensing windshield wipers, but hey, comes with. Fore and aft sliding rear seats with reclining and 40-20-40 split folding backrests. And all of them come with 17-inch wheels, 18-inch on the Cooper S. Pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, and it's basically the same features that are on the existing hardtop, the 2017 hardtops and Clubman.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of standard features. Now the Clubman's got a few more standard features like now backup camera and whatnot. But they all have the screen. We all get the basic screen without the upgrade of the nav system or the tech package.
Right.
So we don't have any pricing on any of this yet.
Nope.
This new Countryman. Here are the highlights. Here are the things that stuck out to me. Other than let's talk before we get into the technical stuff of it. I think all of you guys, we all had a little discussion today between DB, myself, Alex, Gabe, and Chad, and this came online. And by the way, Gabe loves this. We wish he was here to talk about it. He loves this car. He thinks it looks fantastic.
I'm with Gabe on this. I'm 100%. I am with Gabe. I really like this car a lot.
Okay, so Gabe and DB are in the plus category. Chad's response was, "It looks just like the other Countryman," which I'm just going to leave that there. That's what Chad said. You can't elaborate on that without him. Alex, your thoughts initially were you didn't like it, and then you started to like it, right?
Yeah, and so I spent the past 20 minutes looking at the high resolution pictures from Gabe. I actually like it. I like it more and more the more I look at it. I think I had a hard time at the beginning with the more rugged stuff, the big bumpers, especially on the back end, on the back of the car. But the more I look at it, the more it seems to me that the F56 really like a grown-up car, and really the right proportions, because I picture also at the same time the X1. And this is on the road, moving, being dynamic. It's going to look really good. And I think, the front end is pretty well done, in fact, compared to the F56. I think it's a good design.
Yeah, they did away with that big black bumper treatment. And here's the thing is when I first saw this, all I got to see were the pictures of the blue Countryman. Now, hopefully you've seen this by now. And this has what Alex referred to as the rugged pack, or I like to refer to as the Rhino pack.
I saw that and I laughed.
It's got this snap-on piece black bumper on the front and the back that just looks ridiculous, okay? I'm just going to say it right now. It's not growing on me. It may in the future, but my first opinion was, oh my gosh, what did they do? Okay? I didn't like that. Then and I said this pretty much online. I'm like, okay, they followed a lot of the design cues from the F56. This car is full of body panel creases. And by that, I mean there are these folds, these angles that are around each of the wheel arches, just like on the hardtop.
Mm-hmm.
The doors are no longer flat. The previous Countryman doors, as like the R56 DB, your car, and then our cars before that, the original Minis, were all flat. Well, now on the F56 hardtops, they have these contours and these creases at the bottom of the door. Now the Countryman has those creases. The Countryman rear quarter panel has a crease, much like the four-door. It's kind of a hip, if you will, like a big chunky hip, baby got back kind of thing going on the back here. But in addition to that, if you guys look at the front, at the bonnet of this into the A panel, which is where that side scuttle is, there's a whole nother crease line there.
There's actually two crease lines if you look at it. There's the crease line that follows the body, the little fenders there, and then there's that crease that goes right across top of the bonnet.
Now, while I understand there's engineering reasons behind this, because this car's gotten wider and bigger, and those creases, every one of them adds rigidity to a large piece of metal.
And it probably also saves some weight, I would imagine.
Yes, it does. You can make a thinner piece of metal more structurally rigid by stamping little creases in those areas.
Right.
So I get that one. There's an engineering reason for it, but I also think there's a design trend. If you start look at cars that say 10 to 15 years ago, they were all smooth on the side, like our 2003 Cooper and Cooper S. They were very smooth and a lot of round corners or round curves.
A lot of circles.
Yep, not a lot of these creases anywhere on the car, but it was very expensive to do that, and you had to use heavier metal, and the car was heavier itself. So I get that. But so these are things that I didn't like. They were design language that, granted, I've gotten used to on my car. I didn't like the F56 when it first came out, but I love it now when you do things like I've done to my car. You put graphics on it, you lower it, you get the right proportions. It really starts to look good. I think this is going to be the same way.
Yeah.
But DB, you and I were talking earlier, and we need to post these pictures. If you look at the very front, find one of the pictures of this new Countryman.
Actually, if you click over the show notes, guys, you're going to see exactly what Todd and I are talking about, because Todd cropped one out really quick, and that's going to be this week's image for the show.
They've gotten away from, remember the classic had very rounded fenders on the front, okay, and round headlights, and it was very distinctive. And then even in 2002, when they came out with the original Cooper, it had rounded fenders and these round headlights, very cheeky looking.
Yeah, and there was and the whole front end in general was almost like hip. So the roundness from the bonnet would come around, but then it would loop down into it would angle down to almost like if it kept going, these two lines would form a point, 30 feet underground, right? Because it came down at that almost like a triangular front end.
And for lack of any a better term, it was a very retro 50s, 60s style, because it was, design. It was from 1959.
Right.
Okay. And that is something that the car has carried up until, and it still does to a certain extent on the hardtop that exists now. But this car, you look at the cropped picture that we did, in the show notes, it's a complete rectangle. There are some serious right angles to this. They've done away with the curves. It's not so sexy in its curves. It's more rugged and sturdy looking. And this is not a bad thing. I'm not making a judgment call. I'm just making an observation. As even compared to the previous Countryman, which had rounded fenders, now these are squared off and have sharp angles.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it because it gives the car like personality, and it gives it a stance on the road. I don't know if you guys have seen the Cayman, not a Cayman, the Macan lately, like on the road. But some of them, I think, like the base Macan, like when you buy it, like on the door panel, like at the bottom, like you have like a band of plastic, like that goes from the back door to the front door, and it gives like a sporty look, like a rugged look, like I can go like off terrain or whatever.
Right.
And so if you look at the one of the pictures,
it's the side view of the all fours when you're looking at the blue side view picture.
Yeah, so not this one. So the one of the SE, right? So you have like you have concrete in the background. It's just like the front of the car, and so there's something with the angle of the light that goes basically reflects on the creases at the bottom of the door, and it looks like you have that kind of plastic panel that goes from the front door to the back door, when it's actually just light, and it's a nice like sporty effect with light that you can obtain. And also what I've noticed is that there is no air duct like there is on the Clubman.
No,
around the wheels, right?
And like all of the new BMWs they have this air curtain, if you will, is what they're calling it. Mm-hmm. It's an airflow that goes like at a very thin. It's a long, thin piece on the very outside of it that starts at the front bumper and then comes out just behind the front wheels.
Yeah, the BMW X1 doesn't have it either. So I think it's a thing maybe with SUVs, like they don't do it, I guess.
And it's funny because my neighbor across the street has an X1 now while his X5 is in the shop, and his X5's been in the shop for like 4 days. I feel bad for the guy because he's gonna have a big bill. But anyway, he's got an X1 in his driveway now, and we're walking down the street this evening, walking the dog, and we just looked at pictures of the new Countryman. And said, look, that X1 is the same size, basically, as the new Countryman, but it looks different. And that's because the X1, its belt line goes up at a very sharp angle and ends up with this little triangular teardrop-shaped rear window. And the Countryman is much more flat belt line. It goes up at a little bit of a rise of an angle, but the windows, kind of the greenhouse effect of this car, are still a little bit larger.
Right. Well,
so
it's still keeping that whole, for lack of a better term, the whole backwards baseball cap look going. A little bit left over from the coupe and the R56. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But as I said earlier today, I think the belt line is getting a little bit higher, so we're losing a little bit of glass.
Yeah.
It's not really evident until you look at them side by side, but you're starting to lose a little bit of that glass. The belt line's getting high like an old man who's pulled his pants up too far.
just a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? The F56 is the same way. The difference between the belt line on the F56 as to like a 2003 to 2006 hardtop is ridiculous. It seems like it's 6 or 8 inches. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a trend.
Todd, there's a huge feature you forgot to mention. It's electric seats.
Are they standard?
I don't know if they're standard.
I don't think they're standard.
They are there.
I'm
just making a joke.
And mark my words, they're an option on the Clubman now, and I think
it will be standard.
The car's been on sale for a year, and I believe I've seen 2 cars come through our dealer with electric seats. A total of 2.
Yeah,
maybe a few more than that, but I'm pretty sure it's been less than 6 of all the Clubmans that have sold, and they've sold quite a few.
Right.
A year. I would bet that by the time the Clubman gets an update, that the Cooper S electric seats are going to be standard.
Yeah, probably.
A warehouse full of these things.
Yeah, you know what else? And this is just to finish off what actually comes with the car. On models with the all 4, all of those will come standard with heated seats, and all Cooper S models with or without all 4 will come with LED headlights, daytime running lights, the kick-ass sport seats, and 18-inch alloy wheels, as we previously mentioned.
And pretty similar to the hardtop features on an S, the difference between Cooper and Cooper S. Now, what we didn't see in here, did you guys see in any of the specifications about how you have to pay extra for the excitement lighting? I didn't
no, but we haven't seen, to be fair, we haven't seen pricing yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
we haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's not a feature I would buy anyways. Like if the car doesn't get me excited by itself, like it's not a bunch of lights that are gonna get me excited by it.
Right. And
I'm just being sarcastic, I guess. But
really quick, let's jump over to the Countryman E. Just because we talked about this a little bit last week, and Todd, I think it was you that called it out, the being able to drive up to 77 miles an hour on electricity. Yeah. That's pretty strong with a range of up to 24 miles. That's, for a hybrid car, that's pretty good, because most of them, like the Prius and any of the other hybrids, you can't go that fast in straight electric mode.
No, and like we said, I predicted last week that it was going to be 30 miles or less on electric, and currently, this may change, it's rated at 24, the initial specs, that said pretty much outright, this will probably change by the time we get to selling this thing on the street.
Right.
So 24 miles on a full electric charge. I mean, for most people, that's probably a trip to the grocery store.
That's almost, I can go to work at
Almost.
24. No, that's work. I'm 20 and a half miles from door to door.
That's just one way.
One way, yeah. I'd have to use gas coming home, but still.
Yeah, for me, my previous trip, it was I could actually go 2 days without charging it. If I just go to work, when I used to live in Boston, right? So if I just go to work, it was 7 miles one way. I could go 2 days without charging it. That's almost 2 days, right? So it's pretty good.
Nice.
So I think the plug-in hybrid version of this is really targeted towards a lot of your urban drivers who do a lot of, in-town driving, not a long distance all the time. And not to mention, I've said there's a lot of places you go where they have plugins where, if you go somewhere and you've got some meetings, you pull into the parking garage and you plug the car in while you're there. And you're there for a couple of hours and you get a little bit more charge and then you take off and go somewhere else. These are really becoming, so it's not, get out of your mind that, oh my gosh, I can only go 24 miles on this. No, pretty much wherever you go now, there's going to be some place to plug it in if you think about it.
Yeah, if you start paying attention to that, you're going to start seeing a lot of places.
Because I know now, I mean, or go hang out at your local mini BMW dealer. They have charging stations there for everything, and they will for this. I guarantee you that they're going to.
Well, you'll be able to jump in on the i8 chargers too. So.
Yeah, because they're universal now. The charging stations and the plugs are all become universal for electric cars. But anyway, so don't let the 24 miles.
And I think the Countryman E is also going to be the car you're going to want that's going to sell a lot of. If you're somebody who wants the most amount of horsepower without having to do any modifications to the car.
The combined peak.
The combined peak horsepower. And also the 0 to 60 on this particular Countryman is a half second faster than the Cooper S.
Is 221 peak horsepower.
221 peak horsepower. And if we go into speeds and feeds, we can see that the Cooper S PHV goes 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds versus the All 4, which is 7 seconds. So I mean, it's a little bit faster.
So now let me say the thing that one of the first things that stood out to me, and you guys probably all thought I was crazy when I pointed this out when I saw the specifications, is I literally had to text one of the salesperson at my dealer and say, how big is the gas tank, the fuel tank on the current Countryman? And he responded back pretty quickly. He took a picture of the manual. There was one in the showroom. And he goes, it is the current Countryman has a 12.3 gallon tank.
That sounds right, because I think that's about what size the tank I'm supposed to have in my car. 12 point something, and I would say 12 point something in air quotes, because anybody who has an R56 or has had an R56 knows that it's actually a 14.5 gallon tank.
So anyway, the rated size of the existing Countryman is 12.3. The new one, get this, a whopping 16.1 gallon.
That means in BMW math, it's actually a 25 gallon tank.
So what I'm saying is it's a 30% larger fuel tank. And I'm reading something into this that maybe I shouldn't. And Gabe's trying to get on the show right now, by the way.
Yeah, let's go and we have, as a special treat, we're being joined right now by Mr. Gabe Bridger. Okay, imagine his theme music playing now. Because
we're going to have to backtrack a little bit, I'm sure. We're going to try and add him. Let's see what happens here. Through the magic of the
Come
internet.
on, Skype, don't be a heartless bitch.
Hello.
And there he is now. Mr. Bridger.
It's working.
I'm just on my iPad.
Oh, that's fine. That's
totally fine.
Gabe, I was about to drop the ball that the new Countryman has a 30% larger fuel tank at 16.1 gallons. And I think that's foreshadowing the fact that this is not going to be the best fuel economy Mini that they sell.
It will be, actually, the hybrid.
The hybrid will
sure.
be, of course.
By far.
But the hybrid's only got a 9.5 gallon tank, so that makes complete sense. Mm-hmm. But the Cooper S, for example, I imagine it's 1,000 pounds more than the hardtop, and with the exact same engine in it. And I imagine the fuel economy is going to suffer.
How much is the hardtop weigh? It's all listed in there.
It's about 2,600 pounds.
This is so, but isn't it more in U.S. trim?
No, I looked it up, and like my JCW, for example, this is like 2,660, and the Cooper S All 4 is listed at 3,671.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, you're talking 1,000 pounds more for the same engine.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing simple physics.
No, I assumed it's the right time for them to release it, obviously, because people don't really care that much about gas mileage right now.
Exactly. But the fact that it's got a 16.1 gallon tank, I think my point is, it can get less fuel economy, and you can go just as far or farther because you have more fuel in there.
I assume it's the same fuel tank that's in the 2 Series and all those. I know they have over 15.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Standard size, I would say. Because it's a compact.
Right.
Yeah. I think that where they kind of like the Clubman's kind of a one-off in a way.
Right.
The way they did it. I was looking at weight. And this is why I think the Clubman is the better car, but the Clubman is basically 200 pounds lighter for almost the same space.
Right.
Yeah. But it's not as high off the ground, and it doesn't give that utility feel that I think.
Are we recording?
Oh yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what? I think the Countryman looks fantastic. I think it's awesome. I personally don't understand why you need to be that high off the ground for an extra 200 pounds.
Sure.
Well, look at the pictures that they show. This is the first time in any time I can remember in many marketing history that the Countryman is shown in the mountains. There's a dude sitting out with his fishing tackle box on the back. There's no road anywhere near.
Yeah, there is road for the orange one because I've had these photos and I've studied them.
Yeah.
There is dirt and gravel road and stone road for the blue one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the whole point was here, like the brief, the brief for the creative director and the art director and the photo shoot was to say, hey, this car is, the whole idea is that we're trying to create something that feels more rugged. It's larger. We want it to feel like it could do more. It's got more versatility, yada yada. So, hey, I've got an idea. Let's go to Scotland, and let's shoot this thing in a little bit more of an extreme location than like Italy,
Right.
or Spain, where we've shot it in the past. So, I think that's true. I mean, I love, again, like I'm not a crossover fan personally. I love what they have done with a lot of, especially if I'm just looking at those two that they have. Well, technically there's three different Countrymen.
Right.
But the blue one with the black trim and the bumpers.
Yes.
No.
I mean, I love that. I think it looks fantastic.
No,
it's
I'm with
I mean,
Gabe.
it's exactly what they needed to do. I mean,
It is.
It makes the copper one look like pretty boring.
Yeah, I guess,
guarantee you, Todd, you'll eat your words when you see it in person. I guarantee you.
It's possible. But like I said in our discussion today, as we all were texting each other on Slack, that I don't like the black bumper treatments. I call it the Rhino package. It's the rugged, and Alex was calling it the rugged treatment, if you will. I get what they're going for here, but I said the fact that I don't like it, it's going to sell very well.
Well, the back is kind of funky looking. I think the front looks awesome.
I kind of like the back. Like as I was saying on Slack, like I think the back, for some weird reason, like reminds me of the Wagoner, and I just love I just love the Jeep Grand Wagoner. I like always had like a love. Yeah, I mean it's an amazing car, like just for what it represents, and I don't know, like it gives the car like a lot of personality, and I like it. Like you're gonna see it on the road, you're gonna see it being parked on the street.
Mm-hmm.
It looks honestly on those pictures, even though it's probably like I don't know exactly what All 4 is capable of, but on those pictures, like it doesn't look out of place, like off the road. Yeah.
But I think that's probably exactly what they're going for. I'm a firm believer in a car like this. Like you look at it, and it's hard to even be able to like form a fully fledged opinion on it until you see it in person and you think about it and you live with it. I just offer like my initial take, And my initial take is I thought they've done a fantastic job. It's much more angular, and there's a lot of there's Bentley Bottega in this car.
Yeah,
there's really interesting almost creases in the front and rear flare fenders. And I mean, I don't know, Alex, if you noticed that, but I think it's a much more extreme variation of the crease that you see in the Clubman.
Yeah, it's a nice treatment.
Yeah, we talked about that, Gabe, before you came on here. And if you look over in our Slack channel and the show we're going to use, the picture we're going to use for the show notes this week.
You just have to scroll up a little bit, Gabe, to find that one with the shot of the gray, the front of the silver Clubman.
Mm-hmm.
I cropped a picture of it, and you look at it, and it's almost a perfect rectangle, as opposed to the previous Countryman and then the previous Minis in general, which were a lot more rounded. The fenders around the lights, and that's been something historically that was part of the design heritage of this car, was that it had a rounded feel to it. And this one is more, like you said, angular. There's more creases in it, and there's a lot of sharp angles to it. It's no longer kind of I use the word sexy when it's roundness, but I think all cars and car design are getting away from that. There are very few cars that use that kind of rounded aspect anymore.
Well, it's like our vocabulary, it's like our design vocabulary that we're using as a society is just evolving. Yeah. And that's okay. Excuse me. That's okay. I think that, I think that Mini is on the, more on the curve edge, if you will. They're more they're on the curvier of the design, designs you see out there. It's just like it's the smaller or the smallest crossover you'll see. Mini will always be the friendliest, smallest version of a car in a certain segment. I feel like they're still following true to that.
So I'm looking again at the rear treatment of the car. And they've done really well, as opposed to the 4-door. I forget which one is. Always mix it up with the Clubman, but the 4-door F50, the 4-door out top. It seems to me when I look at it that it's falling off, the back of the car is falling off, and in this case it's very dynamic and fits really well with the overall package of the car. I like it a lot.
Well, and the back, can I say the lift gate on this is almost, the back treatment of this car is almost identical to the F56. The lift gate itself is the exact same shape. The only thing it has different is, of course, the letters across the back that say Countryman. But there is a crease going from just below the taillights. There is a bend in the metal that goes all the way across horizontally that does not exist on the F56 or the hardtop. Right. Other than that, and if you look at the lift gate itself, the lift handle on the hardtop, it's straight all the way across. And this one, they've humped it, to go around.
It couldn't contain that logo, Todd. It could not contain that logo. That logo had to burst out of that.
It is weird that they did that. It's just a design cue, and I'm wondering if somehow that's going to be, that logo itself is some sort of a button that allows you to lift it, to kind of a throwback to the original Countryman, where the Mini logo itself was the handle. So I'll be curious to see if there's a possibility of that, because that was one of the signature features of the previous Countryman, is that giant Mini logo was actually the handle.
Well, and I'm sure you guys noticed this too, but have you looked at the shot of the boot being open?
Yeah.
That boot lid goes up 10 feet. Kareem could stand underneath that.
Well, and it's power now too, which is nice. So you look at those giant hydraulic.
Oh yeah, and it's got little buttons right there. You press it to close it. If you can, reach the buttons.
All I gotta say is that having had to replace one of those in the past.
Those hydraulic.
I don't know what to tell you, but be careful what you wish for. So interesting thing about that system, only one is powered. The other is sort of a dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And hopefully they've created a modular system. In the past, the one that was powered was actually it was basically part of all of the wiring, so you had to replace the entire thing. I had to replace one once in a BMW that, thank God, was under insurance, under warranty, but it was over $3,000.
Oh my God!
Good night.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was on 5 Series. I'm sure this would be half that cost at worst case, but that it's hopefully modular at this point. There's no reason for it not to be.
Well, it looks like it does have a giant car hole opening in the back, which is good, and it's going to be good for utility for people who need it. I like the little what are they calling it, the picnic table, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. I actually think it's a good idea, though. It is a good idea. A new one, but I think it's good.
Yeah, it's a pad where you can sit on it and put things in and out of the without scraping the bumper.
Like dogs.
I'm still going to come out with the bumper protection strip for this.
Nice.
5 minutes after this car comes out.
That's more versatile. So, and I apologize for coming in late here. I got the times mixed up. But what do you guys think about have you talked about the Countryman E? I think
briefly, just a little bit.
I mean, for me, that's kind of the big news here. Like if so, for one, it's got 281 foot-pound of torque,
right,
and 221 horsepower. So you suddenly have a car that it's pretty quick.
Yes.
It's not
0 to
slow.
60 less than 7 seconds.
Yeah, 6.8 seconds.
So it's not far off from the JCW Countryman of today. Right. And while we don't have the data yet, obviously it gets 24 miles on a charge, free total electricity, and and it also acts as an electric boost for the engine. I had a 330e for a week recently with roughly the same drivetrain.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty interesting. I mean, I could commute basically for a day and a half without charging it on electricity.
Wow. That's impressive.
That was it. I mean, it was pretty awesome. And my garage, where downtown Chicago, I just
right.
There's free electricity, just plug in.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
And that was it. And so, yeah, you could theoretically not put gas in this thing for a long time.
Yeah, people who get that anxiety of it, I think everywhere you go now is going to have places to plug in. There's going to be, dedicated parking for alternative fuel vehicles, especially the plug-in hybrid type.
Well, the problem is just like getting there on time to because there's so many of them that snag it now. But I think I think the thing that's interesting though is that you don't have the concern about running out of electricity. But it's all about like sort of gaming the system. Like you still don't want to run out of electricity because you want that extra oomph. Like exactly. Those two drivetrains acting together as one. Pretty fast.
Not to mention, Gabe, is that you can run it on full electricity. This will be the first rear-wheel drive Mini. If it's running just on electricity, it is a full rear-wheel drive car, right? Is there any way to do that, or is it always going to be like a gas assist power?
No. That's 100% possible.
Yeah.
Just like the no. That's sorry. I was about to give a bad analogy. That is totally right. And it's the first time. You're right. And what's interesting to me is the snow-induced oversteer opportunities that would allow for. I immediately think of the fun that I can have with this car.
Well, and can I say that the article that you posted a week or so ago when they were teasing the plug-in hybrid version of the Countryman, they talked about how it's one of the best balanced Minis they ever made because of the system in the back and where the battery's placed, how they've achieved a really good equilibrium, and I hesitate to say a 50-50 weight distribution. We love that so much, but...
Let me take a drink.
I do think the plug-in hybrid is going to be very well balanced.
Can I just sort of like tip my cap to myself for a second, which I hate to even say that, but I have been basically reporting the data on this car for almost 3 years, and it is to the mile correct.
Yes, nicely done.
Of its range.
Nicely done, Gabe. Nicely done.
I mean, it doesn't always happen that way. It really doesn't, but I was pretty excited to see that. I think there's a couple other things that we got right, a couple other things we got wrong. But I mean, by and large, like this is one of many worst kept secrets. Like for instance, last week Autoblog was saying that the plug-in hybrid was going to arrive in 2019. That's not right. We knew it was going to be actually featured at launch, which it is. And it comes out, it will hit dealers in June of next year.
So now here's the big question, Gabe, is that's going to happen. What do you think is going to be the next car that we see in the Mini lineup that's going to have a plug-in hybrid? Because this seems like a no-brainer to me to add on down the line to, say, the Clubman or the four-door.
The only other car that is capable of having this system is the Clubman because of the size. And I don't know. I don't believe that they have. I believe they ceased production. They ceased development of that a few years back. I think they looked at it and they decided not to produce it because they didn't think that the quantity of sales would be there.
Interesting. So you think this will be the only car we see as a plug for quite some time?
No. So I've been told, this is a little birdie told me that this is not the last Mini E model we'll see. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a mild hybrid of the next generation hatch and basically almost every other Mini after that.
Okay.
And so it's going to be more like a 48 volt system, similar to the new Golf that's coming out in I think a couple of weeks actually. But the point is that you're going to start to see Minis with that added efficiency layer of a mild hybrid, and then that is going to be one angle. The other angle will be a plug-in hybrid, which is what you see here, and it will likely be available on the larger Minis. And then finally, you will see an all-electric Mini in about 4 to 5 years.
Super leger.
Yeah, well, no, but I think that has yet to be determined, but definitely not that.
Yeah.
So I think the point here is that this is a sign of things to come, but it won't be joined by another Mini. I don't believe anytime soon. I hope I am totally wrong about the Clubman because I think the Clubman would be. I'll say it again. Like I think the Clubman is a better version of the Countryman when I look at the data on it. I could be wrong once I drive the thing and live with it, but I think the Clubman is just for me a better car.
Okay, let's wrap up on this. But one thing I talked about is that. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I want to say. I mean, because we're about to wrap up, so let's. I don't know what you wanted to talk about, Todd, but we have we have like 4 superheroes out of 5 now. Mm-hmm. So it would be nice to start playing a game of which one we think would be the last one if they're actually gonna do 5 of them.
I think they gotta go smaller. I don't think they're gonna go bigger. I think they've got to go something more along the city. And the one car that all of the people internally have been talking about for years that still, as far as I know, has never left the table is what they refer to as the city car or
the Rocket Man.
The Rocket Man.
Yeah, the Rocket Man type car. And I think that's the one that's still on the table for Mini. Gabe?
Yeah, I think there's a lot on the table theoretically. I think the problem is they just do not have a chassis for it, and so they have to go out and partner with somebody. They've hinted that they
Toyota.
could do that. They've hinted that it could be Toyota. I think
everybody partners with Toyota on that car. Aston Martin.
I think we'll probably see some kind of. If there's going to be a joint venture, I think it's going to be announced. I think there'll be a lot of pressure from both parties, shareholders, et cetera, to actually announce that because it'll be a big deal. And it could even be a 3-way joint venture because cars are expensive, and city cars, they don't have the quantity of sales that they should for the expense of just engineering. So if it is that, it's going to be an interesting journey for many to get there.
Yeah. Maybe it could end up being like an FRS Subaru BRZ thing too.
I mean, it could be. I think the other scenario is that they've looked at a modified i3 platform. I think BMW just really screwed up on the i3 platform because they could have made it much more modular and something that allowed for a lot of other variants. They just didn't do that. I think the other scenario is that they could create something bespoke that then they ultimately share with BMW across a couple of different ways. I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to engineer the F56 replacement as a car that accepts different types of drivetrains, and they're just going to use that.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right.
And I think there will not be a small Mini. So I think the 5th superhero they may cop out, may not have one, and they may like call the next GP the 5th superhero or something like
that. Which know what? We are only a year and a half away from that because you think about it, we went from 2002, the car launched, and we had one in 6. Okay, So we got 14, 15, 16, 17. It should be a 17 sometime in the model year 2017, and they did
no.
The GP2.
It couldn't be because the LCI happens next year.
That's true.
And
because it's only 3 years, Todd, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be 2018.
It would be 2020 or something.
And
it'd be the last year of production.
And I guess when you think about it, the R56 came out in 2007, and they didn't come out with the GP2 until 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Gabe,
6 years.
They did accelerate like the production. I mean, or rather maybe decelerate like the lifetime of the R60, right? It came out in fall of 2010.
That's
so
right.
It's less than 7 years, right? So they could they could do the same thing with the F56, maybe. I don't know.
They could. I think BMW. The only time they tend to do that though is with cars that are using another chassis technology and coming to the market late with that technology. So if you think about it, they did that with the Coupe. They did, the Coupe, the Roadster. They did it with the R60. BMW has done that in the past. I believe it was with the first generation X3. So there's certain instances where they say, we're not going to finish out the 7 years because the technology and the underlying technology is just so ancient that we're getting killed in the marketplace. So the F56, I don't know if they'll do that with, because that everything was launched with that car, and so even 7 years out, if they do it right, it should feel still fairly fresh.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to as we wrap this and talk about something we've yet to talk about, and that's the interior of this car, which has changed and updated dramatically. It's got a lot of F56 cues. All the toggles look the same. The dual climate control looks the same. But the dash itself has changed dramatically, and gone for the first time are the round vents. Completely gone from this car.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding the interior of this car to be striking. Like, amazingly so.
Mm-hmm.
I find.
What do you like about it, DB?
Same thing I like about the Clubman, and the same thing I like about the F56. I just like that it looks. It looks. I hate to use the word premium, but it looks premium. It looks nice. It looks comfortable. It looks inviting. It looks like.
The exception of that.
Go ahead.
With the exception of the striped dash.
Except for the striped dash, that looks crazy. But I'm looking at the option. I'm looking at the one with the diamond pattern, the tan interior on the blue one, right? And just something about that. It just looks to me. It just looks very just nice. That's really simple, but I really am enjoying the way the interior of this car looks. I think this looks like something that you just spent $35,000 on, and as it should. I think it's also sparse in its it's not as busy as I think even my car and Alex's car is. It's got all the same knobs and switches and buttons, but it seems like it's a little more like, okay, everything in the center is now climate related. Yeah.
Dual climate control, you've got heated seats, and everything in the middle has to do with climate.
Yeah.
Then everything below that has to do with engine and drivetrain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then everything in the center ring has to do with entertainment and information.
Yeah.
Okay.
The interior of this car is very BMW.
And
very similar to that 5 Series in my garage. Very similar.
I like the simplicity of it, but I think it's like almost gone. That giant flowing dash piece. It looks very retro, if you will, as in something you would have seen in like a 50s era like Buick or something.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
Very large, nothing to it. It's just for shape that's there. And I like it, but I don't like it in the stripe and caramel type.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love it in the piano black though, and I think it almost feels like those buttons are floating there. And I think it is. While there's a lot going on, it helps to create a slightly more minimal feel.
I kind of prefer the vents on the F56. I know they are like kind of breaking with the entire pattern of the dashboard, but again, like it gives the car. I like when it's a little bit busy because it feels like you're getting more for your money in some ways. I don't know, as opposed to being very flat all over. So that's the one thing about the interior that I like more on the F56.
I'm not a fan of the air vents. I don't.
Yeah.
See, I like these.
And also,
I think they look good.
And also CarPlay, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and the touchscreen, I think that's going to be something really fun to start playing with. And we're going to get that in the Clubman coming up, I believe, in December/January. Should be dealers, the JCW Clubman with the touchscreen CarPlay integration.
But if you look at it, also they've redesigned like the UI for Mini Connected. Like it's a different UI than the one we have, Todd.
And I think I really think having owned this car for a while, and Gabe, you've got the Clubman. The least used feature that people really should learn to use in this car, and this is something that's been in BMWs forever, is the hot buttons, the numbered buttons that run around the bottom of the center.
I know. I love that you're such a lover of those buttons, and I think that you're right too. I think you're totally right.
I mean, I love it in my car because as the computer's changing, all I do is reach up and hit the number 2, and immediately it pops up on the screen all of my tire pressures, and I know exactly what they are to the pound. And as the temperature changes, I've been using that a lot lately as it's going up, down, and down, and I've had to air up the tires quite a few times. It is so simple to set these smart buttons, these hot buttons, if you will, to do all kinds of functions. And I have one that goes to messages. If I get a text message,
yep, that's the same.
Right to the message. I've got another one that goes to my music on my phone when it's plugged in. It'll go to external device and start playing music. It is a least used feature, and I think people really need to know about it.
Well, I wanted to be using it like a lot, but every time I try to set it for like a default destination on the navigation system, like it doesn't work. Like it prompts me. It basically gives me the map with pointing north, which is really annoying. Like it doesn't actually save the destination.
Yeah, there are certain things it won't do.
Yeah.
If it won't, it'll take you to a place inside the menu, but it won't take you to a place that requires processing power.
Yeah. And I think, and what you have to do is you have to store it before you go to that step. Like you have to get right to the step you want to go to and then save it, and then it will go to that step. It's kind of it's not terribly intuitive, but once you learn how to set it to certain features, it's like, oh, this is absolute genius. And I wish it would do more. Alex, you're right. I hope with the touchscreen that they'll be able to do a little more integration and with Apple CarPlay that it will add some additional features, because you got to think that since you'll be able to touch the screen and push buttons and whatnot, you've got more than 6 presets there. You're going to have
So what do you think the people who buy this car in February and March, how are they going to feel when CarPlay comes out in August, the same system?
I
think it's are they going to charge like $300 like they do on BMW for CarPlay?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think BMW, what they typically have done is they've charged for functionality, and then after a couple of years they make it free. And so I would suspect that Mini might do the same thing. But I have a hard time swallowing that. I think that's a terrible call. I think that they should make it free.
It is because like when you look at the GTI, same screen, navigation system, and everything, like you're not paying for CarPlay; it just comes with it. And I wanted to they actually have the. I mean, they must have the right to charge people, but I wonder if that money goes back to Apple or if it's part. If they they have to pay Apple like anything for that stuff. I don't know.
I think that's a great question. I do think that there's like some level of payment there, but it's got to be fairly low. I mean, per unit, this is different than, selling millions of like some sort of lightning port adapter. You're selling, 200,000 cars.
Which, by the way, the best thing Mini ever did was do away with that stupid cable that came to plug in your phone or whatever, and now you just use whatever lightning cable you've got, plug it into the USB.
Well, right now I'm just happy that I would be just happy if they could actually update Mini Connected so I could actually use it.
So are you guys having trouble? Like,
yes.
I think I saw this on Slack. In 4 2015-16 BMW and Mini products, I've yet to experience this problem. Is it just not connecting at all, your iPhone 7?
No, it connects. So it's a mix of, I don't know if it's, I think it's mostly like iOS 10 rather than like iPhone 7. it connects and then it drops. And then unless you kind of stop the car or do something drastic, like it doesn't work again. So like the Bluetooth audio I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But when I connected via USB, it works totally fine. And maybe it's gonna fail like, let's say, I don't know, 1 time out of 3. But yeah, that's since the iOS 10. It's and that's
that's a shame. That's
and
a
the
bummer.
the new problem I've been having with mine is getting the car, and this has happened at least a half a dozen times to me, where the car will just shut Bluetooth off.
Yes,
Like,
it does
like
that.
I'll get my phone will ring, and I'm like, why can't I answer it in the car? And then I look down and I go to Bluetooth, and it's unchecked. I just turned Bluetooth in the car off, just randomly. At some point, and you don't know that it's done that until your phone rings and you're like, I can't answer a call or I can't make a call. And then it's simple as just checking the button and it'll connect you. Doesn't forget it. But it seems like there's a few glitches, and I do blame Mini for that. That is something that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't just turn Bluetooth off. But I've got so many Bluetooth things running in my car at one time now. My phone is now talking to the automatic that's plugged into the ODB port. It's talking to my radar detector, my Valentine 1, and it's talking to the car via audio and phone.
So basically, you almost crash when your Bluetooth goes off.
Exactly. It's just like everything's going at once. But it worked. It used to work. When I first got the car back in March, everything worked great. And as soon as iOS 10 came out, it's like, oops, everything just put the brakes on and stuff starts going to crap, So
yeah, that's not cool.
Anyway,
What, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of the new Countryman. I can't wait to see it in person. I think it's amazing. Job well done by Mini, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All
right, let's play the fun game before we go. Let's try to take a wild guess at pricing.
Oh, geez.
Anyone?
I have no clue where the existing one is now, so I can't say right off. I'm gonna have to think about this.
Let's think about this for a second here.
Because I think pricing on this is going to come in at very similar to. I think it's going to come in at like Clubman pricing.
So the current Countryman is $22,750, which is a steal if you didn't know it was a very old platform. The current Clubman, of course, this is Mini USA Cooper pricing is $24,100.
Right. I
would bet that the Countryman would be more expensive than the Clubman, and I would bet it would be about $500 more.
So Gabe, you're going to say,
if not 8,
you're going to say that we're looking at 24.6, 26.4, and then
I'll say 20. I'll say 24,750 just to make it
okay.
And I'm probably low.
Okay. I'm going to say I think it's going to be higher than that. I think it's going to be $1,000 over the Clubman across the board. Not counting the electric one. I'm going to say $1,000 over.
Just the base one.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the pricing. I think you may be right. I think it may be more like 25.
Yeah.
I'm saying 20. I'm saying right at 25 to 25.5 starting price for the Cooper Countryman.
Yeah.
And then how great would it be if it was 24 though?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be more like closer to Gabe between 25 and 24,750.
All right.
It's like it's $2,000 more than the current Countryman. I don't think it would be like $3,000 more. Like that's a lot.
I think you're right. I think they can't afford to bring it that. And I mean, it's interesting. If they do, it just strengthens the point of the case for the Clubman. Which, man, I love the Countryman, but I just can't help but look at the Clubman with even more, just like admiration these days. Looking at these weight figures and everything else.
Right.
And I think that the most expensive one's going to be, of course, the hybrid. However, there are government incentives to that for electric vehicles that as long as they're renewed next year, I think they come up for renewal. And it's pretty positive. I mean, I think people are pretty optimistic that they will be renewed.
Right.
To encourage people to buy alternative fuel vehicles like that, electric cars.
I think the EV
is negate the extra expense.
Yeah, but I think the EV is going to add $2,500 to the price of the S.
It's going to be
at least.
That's it.
At least, maybe more.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the new Countryman.
And JCW coming next fall, right? JCW version.
Yeah. So I think from what I gather from reading between the lines from a few folks, it'll be Frankfurt reveal next September. So should be the same drivetrain we see in the Clubman JCW with all that torque.
Because that'll be about the time they're announcing LCIs and possible boost to power in the existing lineup also. And I think that's an interesting side note to that.
I think it's a good point. And I think that gap between the JCW and the standard cars may decrease slightly because of that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Gabe, thanks for joining us tonight. Did you have any? We haven't had you on in a long time. Dude, we didn't have any. We hadn't had you on in a while, and I know you've got the Cubs game to get back to. But was there anything else you wanted to add before you left?
I mean, glad to be on. I've been driving some fun cars, enjoying my 1976
2002,
which is not a hybrid.
Which needs to have more photos on your Instagram of, please.
That's true. But yeah, it's not a hybrid unless you count the burning of oil as an energy source.
You can tell by the smell of the car when it runs. It's not a hybrid.
I tell you though, it is great. It is my new baseline basically for steering feel.
Nice.
I'll say that.
Yeah,
but no, it's.
That must be good. That must be really, really good because now, nowadays it's not boring, but it's it's tough to get used to the electric steering.
Yeah, it's tough to get used to basically anything else. I mean,
yeah.
It makes my 1M feel like it's just a little too boring. It's a very, if you want visceral, all these people with R53s, etc. Go out and buy yourself a car from the 70s. You'll get your visceral.
Yeah.
It's like shots of visceral in the arm, basically. That's what it is.
Right here.
Yeah. It's great. It really is. I love it. But anyway, no, that's what I've been up to, and it's been fantastic. And loving the Clubman. I mean, I can't say enough great things about that car. I mean, it's been absolutely bulletproof, and it's been fantastic. It's going to kind of go down as one of the absolute best minis I've ever owned.
All right, so Gabe, this will be the big question about the Clubman. When the time comes, is this a car you're going to actually try to keep in your garage?
I will not keep it because it wouldn't be the one I would order, but I would if I, if MotoringFile does not get long-term loaners, knock on wood, for the rest of recorded history, I think the Clubman would be the car I would probably buy. Really? Out of all the range. In fact, I know it would be.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
Maybe a Cooper manual, actually. DB.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You lost me there, but Gabe, you get the Cooper manual, and you can put the Dynatune on.
The Dynatune on it, exactly.
Bring it up to Cooper S.
Because they're not gonna, because the 3-cylinder. So here's my hunch, guys. The 3-cylinder is going away.
You think?
Really?
That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe that the emissions testing situation has uncovered that 3-cylinders are not as clean as 4-cylinders because of the work they have to do to get the power out.
Yeah.
And I believe that 3-cylinders are going to be going away before everything then ultimately becomes electric.
And I will say, having owned, we owned one here for almost 2 years, and it did not, I swear to you, did not get the fuel economy that it was supposed to. It didn't do that much.
And it's not even the fuel economy. I think it's more that I believe it burns dirty.
It might. And like I said,
compared to a 4-cylinder, which is less taxed.
Yeah. And my attitude was, if I'm going to have the same fuel economy, I'm going to spend the extra money and get the horsepower and the, extra luxuries that are in an S.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? If I'm spending my own money, I may do the same thing. But I like the idea of the 3-cylinder because I don't think it's going to be around forever.
Huh. Interesting. Very good. Gabe, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, excellent. Before
you got a base runner here in the 7th.
Yes, I know. I've got a game to get back to, and 108 years of a curse.
Frustration.
Go.
And frustration.
Go Cubs. Gabe, thanks again.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Gabe.
All right, that was nice of Gabe to join us really quick. I want to remind you guys about one of the other fine sponsors here underneath the white roof, our good friends, our good pals over at Craven Speed, cravenspeed.com up in the Pacific Northwest since like 2005. One of the original sponsors here at White Roof Radio, one of the original sponsors at Motoring File. They make all the really cool custom stuff for your Mini, and it doesn't matter what Mini you've got. You got a first-gen R50, R53, Craven Speed's got you covered. You got an R56, boom, same thing. You got a new Mini, Craven Speed's got you covered. Go Fast Parts, very functional parts that make your car car work better or look better, like the stubby antenna, like the dipstick for the first and second gen cars you can actually read and doesn't break, like the platypus license plate mount, like all the things I always talk about, the flex pod adapter, all the stuff. Really cool. I want you to click over to the website also. You have a minute, and you can actually meet the whole Craven Speed team. There's pictures of all of them and little like bio stuff. It's super awesome. You should go check it out and meet everybody. It's kind of cool. I like it. And then when you do place an order, that's the best part. There's a spot there you can leave a comment. We like it when you can, put a little thank you there for supporting White Roof Radio. We really appreciate that. So do they. They, of course, being our friends over at Craven Speed, cravenspeed.com. Go check them out, please.
Home of that giant bendy dipstick.
Home of the giant bendy dipstick, yes. home of, hang on, I'll tell you. Let's see, cravenspeed.com, home of Logan customer support website guy and photography. There. Anyway, go check them out.
You know what? I am off to SEMA.
That's right. Todd's going to be in SEMA next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so follow the Instagram, the White Roof Radio Instagram, and my Instagram, Todd's Mod.
Yep.
To see pictures from SEMA, because really there's not a lot of Wi-Fi there, but there's a lot of cool stuff to see, and I'll be firing up the pictures. And as far as I know, Minnie is going to be there. They've been there the last 2 years, so crossing my fingers, there'll be something cool to see.
Yeah, but you'll probably won't see a Countryman.
Yeah, probably not. That's going to be unveiled at the LA Auto Show, and I think we've pretty much been guaranteed of that.
Yeah,
November 16th.
November 16th during the press preview days. Awesome. So, and if you're going to be in SEMA, if you're going to be at SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association show in Las Vegas, Nevada, look for our man Todd. He'll be there hanging out with booth babes, more than likely, with a gin in his hand.
Yes,
or talking at length to the 3M reps, because he seems to spend a lot of time doing that too.
Yes, I'll be doing that also.
That's why you go.
Well, from when to when are you in SEMA? Are you in Vegas?
Next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
Very
and then
good.
that means we'll probably be off for a show next week.
Yeah, we won't have a show next week, and I know we owe you guys a Ask Chad show. So the next show, we weren't expecting the Countryman, obviously, to drop when it did. So the next show, for sure, is we're going to get the Ask Chad questions, and we'll make sure we get that taken care of. And that won't be next week. That'll be the week prior, and that'll be for Woofcast number 610.
Yes, and then we're approaching Thanksgiving and the holidays.
Exactly, and we'll go into holiday mode shortly thereafter. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. We do appreciate it. But yeah, we don't have anything else. Anybody? MotoringStripes.com. MotoringStripes.com. Go over there, get yourself some
Holiday
Todd
specials
stripes.
coming up.
Holiday specials coming up, so keep an eye on the stripe. Listen here when the holiday specials actually are ready. You'll hear it here first. Just saying.
I have one more thing to say.
Of course. Alex has one more.
I just wanted to say, like on the radio, on public, like Sean, I am very sorry. I'm gonna get back to you tomorrow. After you hear this, I'm gonna get back to you. I'm really, really sorry. It's been tough. I've been a bad friend, Sean, and so I'm sorry for that. So it's on record now. So I guess you can forgive
Shout
me.
out, public shout out.
Wow, Alex, you're dogging one of the boys from Motor Trend.
Yes, I am.
They're our friends over there at Motor Trend Audio Podcast. We like them
really
a
good
lot.
friends.
We like them a lot. If you guys are looking for another show, we always like to pimp them whenever possible. If you're looking for another good automotive show that's not Autoblog or Jalopnik, you should go punch up in your app, look for Motor Trend Audio. Charlie and Sean and Alex, they do a great show over there. It's well worth the space on your device. Honest to God. I subscribe and I don't miss an episode. It's a really great show. If you like us, you'll like them.
My favorite podcast player of late has got to be Overcast.
Overcast for the win.
Because you can listen to shows at like double speed and
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, and the dark theme also.
Yeah, but the only thing with the Overcast is it doesn't support video podcasts. And if you do a lot of video podcasts, Overcast doesn't yet support that. But you know what's really funny that you mentioned Overcast? You know what the number one podcast player on the Ride Bikes radio show is?
What's that?
Overcast.
Really?
Whoa,
By
cool.
a lot. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but like a lot of the bike show people are Overcast users.
That's pretty cool. That's a good sign for Overcast, because the thing, like what Marco keeps on saying every time, is that the Apple like default app is the number one competitor.
It is.
So if for a new podcast like this, or a new show like this, like your majority of players are Overcast, it's a really good sign for him. So I'm really happy for the
yeah, I listened to the Libsyn podcast, and this is total inside baseball stuff, guys. And if you wanted to go and turn us off, that's fine. But I listened to the Libsyn podcast, and they talk about, stats, like overall stats, like the entire network stats. One of the guys there actually breaks down, all the statistics for all the shows and all the downloads. And right now, I think the number 5 podcast consumption app is Overcast. Like
That's
all the way
good.
around, which is really strong.
I'm going to say that since this is a mini show and you have a mini, it plays very nicely with your mini, especially if you plug in to the new car and you run Overcast. It gives you screen art, and it's basically just like using the, the music app or things like that. So it works really well.
And
Yeah.
it's also the only podcast app that is not Apple. That's on CarPlay. So for anyone on the market to buy Countryman,
Yeah.
you guys should know that.
There you
Or
go.
a JCW Clubman that's going to have CarPlay built in. So
Yeah.
And since we're talking about the nerd stuff, if you guys are looking for other ways to consume White Roof Radio, you can find us any place you can find audio except for Spotify and Pandora. I'm still working on Spotify and Pandora. Well, they'll never do podcasts. But if you're an iHeartRadio listener, you can find White Roof Radio there. We're in Stitcher. We're in TuneIn. We're on the Google Play Store. We're in iTunes, obviously. We are everywhere on every app. If you need your White Roof Radio fix and you're looking for somewhere else to do it, you can always search for White Roof Radio, and you will always find us. Guaranteed. And if you find someplace where you're not finding us, like maybe on the old, you usually even still find us on the Zune store. If that one guy out there still has a Zune. I don't know if we're still in the Zune store or not. And if we are, the feed's probably broke. But if you're looking anyplace else, you will find White Roof Radio. And if you find a place where you can't find us, I'd appreciate
shoot us over an email, feedback@whiteroofradio.com.
Anyway, we are done for this week. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for your patience, as always. We are looking forward to what you guys think about the Countryman. Click back over to whiteroofradio.com. Leave us a note there in the show notes. You can also email us, feedback@whiteroofradio.com. But that's it. What happened?
I don't know.
The whole end of the show just disintegrated. Anyway, this until next week, gang. This is DB. I'm done. Good God.
À bientôt.
Completely lost it there. It's like, what?
But good. I like it.
It was a good show.